When you think of Katowice, you think of coal. And that still remains true. After all, there are 3 coal mines and 2 steelworks still. Although Katowice cannot live by the coal alone, there is one mine that will forever be engraved in our memory. That's the Wujek coal mine. In 1981, miners striking against declaration of martial law in Poland were massacred. Devoted to that event, Wujek Coal Mine Memorial Room holds various exhibitions and organizes staging of the strike. Another historically significant site in Katowice is Nikiszowiec, the over 100 years old beautifully preserved district of Katowice.
And welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship, brought to you live from Katowice, Poland. We just heard from Joe Miller talking a little bit more about the industry and what's going on around the city. But for this weekend, it is all about esports. We're about to jump into the first elimination match here at the League of Legends tournament. Let's take a look at the bracket. It is Team Solo Mid taking on Origin in a best of 3. This is a rematch of the San Jose finals where, truthfully, Origin just swept TSM under the rug. The winner of this best of 3 will then face ESC Ever immediately after in another best of 3, and the winner of that will advance as the 2nd seed from Group A. You guys at home, make sure you jump onto the Score Esports app. It is available on iOS and Android. It'll give you news, updates, scores, picks, bans, gold graphs, the works, and it really is absolutely fantastic. Talking about the score, we just happen to have the European score representative on the desk with us, doing a bunch of interviews in the studio.
Yeah.
Dexter, welcome. What have you thought of the day so far?
Thank you so much for having me, first of all. And the first day, it seemed to be, I think, messy is like the right word to explain it, and lots of disappointment from some teams, maybe. But hopefully we can fix this, maybe this series.
Oh, we. Who is this we that you're referring to? Is it Europe and Origin?
It's Europe, yeah. I think I have faith in Europe, but yeah. People like to refer to both teams as European teams, but we have to see.
That's true. I like that. Update for you guys on the desk. Game 1, Origin will be blue side. They will swap for game 2, and then the team that has won in the shortest amount of time will then have choice of side for game 3.
Okay.
So that's the way this is going to play out. What's your expectations, Dexter, because we've heard from Deficio all day, on Origin? Let's start with them on the blue side. What you've seen from their games and what they're going to need to do against TSM.
Yeah, Origin, the big story probably is underperforming players probably. Like Soas and Amazing had a pretty rough split. But I think the fact that they had like a really good lane swap against a team that was super inexperienced at lane swaps, that made them look better than they I mean, Soas had like a pretty tough game, but Amazing looked like pretty good in terms of like where to be on the map, vision control and everything. So I think Amazing has to like step up here. And it was like the story of if he can. And I think in the game 1 he showed like slides of like maybe doing that. So, and I think it's going to be really important how this series is going to play out. And of course, talking about junglers, I think it's going to be really interesting how that plays out, because both teams don't really like Nidalee, and I think Gragas is going to be like a really big pick for both teams, because it's first of all Amazing's best champion, and I know Svensken is really good on Gragas too, and it can do a lot for these teams.
Yeah, Gragas and then Elise probably as like the comfort pick for both junglers. We have seen Kindred from Svensken before, but it is slightly, for some of the Western teams, fallen out of favor. I know, Dexter, you're not the biggest fan of Kindred right now, at least. But really also just to go back to Soas, in that last game, yes, the lane swap was great from Origin. What their 4 members were doing, Soas was overextending on his own lane, and whenever there's a lane swap now, you will always aim to mirror what the other team is doing. So if you send 4-man top side, expect 4-man to be on the bottom side against you, yet Soas would stay out in lanes and just overextend and give up so many early kills.
And it's something he's doing a lot, even in the EU LCS, where every week it feels like at some point during a lane swap, Soas is caught out. Team Solo Mid were all caught out. They built a gigantic lead. They then grouped up as a 5-man death ball. They refused to split push and then got punished by their Baron calls. Is that easier or more difficult to rectify in an hour break than the problems that Origin are facing?
I think it's easier.
Yeah, because you can't just get better.
Right. I mean, like, for Team Solo Mid, it's honestly go after the game and you talk about, okay, what were we supposed to do with our composition? You have 5 professional players, you have coach, analyst, everything there. You talk about, okay, how do we normally use Fiora as the split pusher? What didn't we do? We didn't split push. You can go and rewatch the game, obviously, and you so clearly can see the mistakes. So I think it's a lot easier for them. Problem is, we've just seen this shot calling issue for multiple weeks now.
Yeah.
It's not just 1 week, it is not one kind of comp. We've seen it time and time again. So even though I think this team might do well early game if they draft the right composition, I just don't trust in them enough to say they will close out the game cleanly.
Well, that's fair. Dexter, earlier there was a little bit of talk about some of the support stuff behind TSM, maybe, you know, giving them good advantages or how to read Ever's tower dive, pick some bans, some comments. Do you feel that's something that you agree with? You know, that TSM looked like they were very prepared in that first game?
I mean, I think you can only talk about like the first 10 to 15 minutes. It's like really scripted, especially in a lane swap. It's always the same thing, and it's really like, in terms of lane swaps, you always bounce back the wave and do it to the second tower. I think that's like really easy. But then, like at the 15-minute part where TSM has like all this advantage in all the games, and I think it has been a problem like throughout the whole NALCS from the games I watched, that there's a point where they don't know what to do, especially with like Elite. And if they would just pause the game right here and had like a 3-minute talk with their coaching staff and analyst, I think they could just fix it and close out the games. But I think they need a bit more time to develop that into their whole play style. So, I mean, yeah, you saw like the Fat Fiora, and then they decided to not split push, which is the only reason why they lost that game, because that game was like super won, like 100%.
And the weird thing is, last year, one of the things Fnatic did extremely well was snowball their leads. They had Yellowstar as the guy making those calls. He joins Team Solo Mid. I don't think over the offseason he just forgets how to play League of Legends. He's like, I don't know how to push any advantage anymore. He used to play with Huni, who would split push in every single game, and he knew how to play around it, where to pressure, where to ward. So either it is Yellowstar dropping the ball, or it is Team Solo Mid not accepting him as a shot caller, and everyone wants a piece of the pie. You know, everyone wants to make the call, or want to question the call all the time. So it doesn't become go here, it becomes should we go here?
Okay.
And then it becomes like, no, because I need to farm this wave, and then I need to recall here something back in Season 3 when we would play, you did from a lot of mid laners. Be like, oh, I got to do Raptors, you know, real quick, and then I can go and do something.
But don't you think that Huni and Rainover were like a big reason why they won? Because
for sure.
I think right now Rainover probably looks like the best jungler in the West in terms of pathing, because his pathing is flawless. Like he has like really good pathing, and the first time he actually got punished was when they lost that game. And if you think about it, they have like won 30 games in a row. So I think him enabling, like if you have like good players on your team, there's like there's a lot more opportunities, and they enable, like Huni and Rainover enable everything. And I think those two actually helped the Fnatic bot lane in the last bit too, to enable their playstyle. They're just waiting for ganks basically, and all they did was set up the TP play, but this was like all on the top laner and jungler. So I think Yellowstar actually can't really facilitate those ganks like quite well, because I mean, they have like Doublelift and Yellowstar have like opposite playstyles, right? In terms of like laning. And I think that's like a really big problem, that either like Hansa, he's been performing well, but he's not like on a Huni level right now. And I think Svensken is not on Rainover's level. So I think those two are like really important at facilitating bot lane ganks and making sure that you can play off bot lane with the advantage.
But I think that's a super scary thing for me when it comes to this first game, is it actually felt to me like Ever made the TSM members look like they were on Fnatic's level of last year, with the early advantage. Like Hansa got an early lead in his lane, and that is where Yellowstar should be used to the shot calling. I can understand it if it's a super even game and they start losing a bit in the early game, which they normally wouldn't do when they had Huni Rainover. But like that game, it was like here's First Blood. He's a Flash of our support, by the way. He's a Nautilus into Fiora matchup. Like they had everything needed to play like Fnatic last year, and it didn't happen. So clearly there is
a disconnect.
A disconnect between Yellowstar and what he used to bring and what TSM wants.
All right, the players are just jumping into the lobby, so we should hopefully getting this match underway shortly. Just before we do, though, we did actually catch up with Amazing a little bit earlier, so let's hear what he had to say.
Obviously, everyone wants to get out of groups, and this is the same for us. We want to get out of groups. If that's like realistic, is something else, but we'll see. I think that the Chinese team is probably the strongest in our group, and I think that TSM and EVA are both pretty beatable. So I wouldn't be surprised if we get out second or first, depending on our first match against RNG. Nothing specific that I can point out that I expected as better than other owners, but he's more in the team. So he's still part of the team, which is something that most owners cannot match. So he'll know about the issues that are in the team. He'll know the pros, the cons, and everything like that. And he's able to fix them on spot instead of hearing it through the grapevine. The event itself is just like really storied, and I'm happy to be here, especially if I get to play on the big stage, which may or may not happen. So we'll see about that. But IEM Katowice just has so much energy within that no other IEM event can match, in my opinion.
I completely agree with that. No other IEM event can match the energy here in Katowice. And we've got completely packed grandstands for NA versus EU. It's a San Jose final. Somehow, TSM and OG seem to find each other time and time again. And as we are about to get ready for picks and bans, are TSM the clear favorites?
No. But Origin is not the clear favorite either.
Well, I don't think anybody would go that far, but in theory, did TSM not look better than Origin did in the one-game sample size? And I'm making a sweeping generalization.
I'm sure. They also played an easier team.
Okay.
I think these teams are very even. They both have a lot of issues to work out. And it most likely comes, at least for game one, down to drafting is one of them we will always talk about. I think TSM, when they draft a strong mid laner who can actually be a bully, and an early game jungler for Svensson, you can enable both Bjergsen and Svensson the same. When they draft this Orianna, Gragas thing, that they've, like, very passive they've done before, not that Gragas is a bad pick, but with the Orianna, I think it's too slow. The team kind of falls apart and does nothing. So I think that comes down to drafting. And then also, honestly, who can bounce back after? Like, we saw Origin walk by us just before. They were all looking down the ground. Like, they all looked super, super sad after that first game.
Well, it's a tough one to call. Just a brief update, guys. Unfortunately, the sides are actually reversed. It's TSM blue side. Origin
Lied to us, man.
I know. Yeah, mistake was mine. Let's put it that way. Dexter, who would you have thought was the stronger looking team coming into the tournament? Now, we've already seen a game, but whose problems were bigger? Because, you know, both of these squads had difficulties to overcome.
So if we just look at the first 20 minutes of each game, then I think TSM looks a lot stronger. But I just hope that this game that we saw was just a fluke. And I think TSM on paper should actually be the stronger team, because Hansa is doing fine in the top lane, and I think having a better top laner currently in this current meta is giving you a lot more options to facilitate the early game, mid game, and everything. Where Soaz is struggling pretty hard right now, and I don't think that. I also think that Origin has a problem in the champion selection, because Power of Evil is not the most versatile player. I think he doesn't play a lot of powerful picks right now. Even when talking to Nukeduck, he says, yeah, Quinn is the most broken mid lane champion, no counters. We saw him when he played it, he's solo killing people left and right, and everyone is doing it. And I don't think Power of Evil plays the most OP champions right now.
He's never been a guy that's played the super meta picks for as long as he's been around. Well, you've been touching on picks and bans. TSM and OG, they are into picks and bans for the time being. TSM has removed Alistair and Cogmore, and the Braum has been the reply from Origin. So no real surprises, but Lulu, Nidalee still up there?
I actually think it's a mistake maybe to ban Braum, because there's no way in hell that TSM would actually first pick the Braum, and it's a really good first rotation purple side pickup, because there's so much OP stuff on the table that you can just say, hey, okay, we're gonna grab the Braum and have a tier 1 support for one of the strongest player for Mythy.
Yeah, unless they specifically want the Thresh again, which they were using to move around the map very quickly and trying to pick off people for Mythy. We also look at Lulu. Every single time Origin plays, we have to look at it, because it's been the champion for them, and I like that ban for Team Solomid because of that. Don't risk it, because you are forced to first pick it yourself if it's open. Right now, Nidalee is there, but we talked about it. We don't think these junglers necessarily 100% want to first pick a Nidalee.
Yeah, I mean, what do you first pick here? I don't think you have to first pick a jungler. Usually I would say, hey, Nidalee's open, just first pick it. But with the enable, with Gragas being in the table, the matchup is completely fine. You can afford to give Nidalee away and just pick Gragas into it. But as of right now, there's so much stuff open that...
GP's there, but again, we don't see first picks very often anymore. We tend to then look at Illusion, but we know Team Solomid has been preferring Ezreal above it, because they get that super safe laning phase where Doublelift can sit back and farm and scale up to late game. So it's actually kind of funny with this first pick. Poppy is there. Hansa has been playing a lot of Poppy. Same goes for Source. Otherwise, Nautilus, if you want a big tank.
Yeah, Nautilus is really good here. I think it's one of the safest and most stable top laners right now, because he has so much damage on this current patch as a tank that even if you pick a tank into it, he just has all the pressure in the entire game, because he just keeps chopping. And I actually like that here, because technically it's still a flex pick.
Good prediction, boys. We mentioned 5 champions. I got one of them. There we go.
You've gone through the entire spectrum of top tier picks. But it is a slower pace pick and ban. It is patch 6.3 if you are just joining us now. Karma is the only disabled champion.
So you pick Thresh here for sure, right?
I mean, we would assume with the Braum ban, unless they want to play Bard. But I don't think Yellowstar's going to play bot.
Thresh Lucian, considering Cogmore Callista is off the table?
Yep, the thing is, I'm looking at these two bans saying the two easy supports to play for a weak mechanical player are like Alistar, and then in most cases you can pick a Braum and just not be too offensive with him. Those are the two bans in this game. That means Yellowstar might be pushed on to something like a Thresh, like a Bard, but that's not his kind of champion right now because he is struggling on a mechanical level.
Yeah. Okay. Amazing is locking in the Nidalee. We've talked about this. I don't see Amazing currently as like a really good Nidalee player because I'm not sure why, but he doesn't really have like maybe the expertise on the champion currently.
Sure.
Because it's like the most mechanical champion in the game for a jungler right now, and it takes like a lot of knowledge, and I think that maybe picking a Gragas here might have been better.
Do you not think it's also fair to say Nidalee has to be a champion that your team plays around as well? Which spears to follow, how to flank, and that's something that Origin as a team are just not doing very well. They're on different pages so often.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that because I think you need a pushing mid laner with Nidalee to make her useful because you have to be able to control mid lane to set her up to invade.
Yep.
Corki is open. He's actually the only guy we didn't mention out of the
Hey,
out of the OP.
I know you don't listen to me pick some bands, but I got him.
So if Corki doesn't get locked in by Team Solomid, I think actually we might see Origin pick it up because I think that's where Power Weaver has been looking fine, is on a Corki pick.
I mean, Origin has always been like, I don't know if you guys remember the Fnatic was Origin game 1 where they played this poke comp with Varus, Corki, and Gangplank.
Yep.
That's like their best style. They know how to play poke comps really well. And I think that if they would actually manage to pick up some poke here, like maybe a Corki mid lane, and with an Nidalee, that would be like the perfect thing. Put the tank in the top lane and you're fine.
And they can even do what RNG did against them. You can last pick a Trundle in, who can fit in, does well against the Nautilus, great disengage with your poke composition if that is what you want to draft. I actually really want to see Corki coming in, but Power Weaver does also play LeBlanc if that is if he wants to save it as a last pick.
I actually like that too.
It's a good flex pick. I like this.
It's a good flex pick, and it takes away one of like playmaking champions from Bjergsen. That is like really good, and it also like disables all the kind of assassins like LeBlanc maybe, or even Zed. We saw a bit of Zed. I'm not sure if TSM plays Zed currently, but it's like really good right now to just pick a standard.
And technically speaking, that could also go into Soaz's
It is
hands.
a flex pick.
It's not something we've seen very frequently, but there is the tool available. With the comp that Origin are putting together, would you expect a tank for Soaz?
It should be.
Yeah, it depends on the last two picks here. One thing we did talk about was how Svenska needs to get an early game jungler where you can actually make big plays. Lee Sin, farm up to level 6 and you become a massive playmaker. If Bjergsen has the champion mid lane that can also fight 2v2, but that's actually why this Lissandra pick is so smart, because playing LeBlanc into Lissandra is fairly difficult, which would otherwise probably been the go-to pick for Bjergsen together with Lee Sin, and you have that crazy 2v2 in the mid lane.
Okay.
Go for it anyway.
I don't like that. I think we've seen it in all regions that if you pick LeBlanc into Lissandra, once you hit like level 6, that matchup becomes like high favored for Lissandra. And I think if they actually don't manage to pressure mid lane pre-6, it's going to be very difficult to actually like pressure mid lane.
And now Origin has two options, because you're going to run a teleport mid laner. LeBlanc does not run teleport. So you can either go Quinn here and you play 1-3-1. You beat out the tank, and you also have the Lissandra in the other side lane, and then you just have Lucian sitting mid, perfectly fine, build a static shift, he's the wave clear. Or you match tank for tank and go for like a Poppy, and you just play standard lanes into team fighting to try and lock down the LeBlanc. Also, Ezreal struggles to kill these tanks until he gets fully late game. So there are two good options.
Well, the only time that Origin have really looked like they're in their element is when Soaz was on a split pusher and he didn't feed. Now, that's 50% of the time. And, you know, if I think back to his Quinn from last week, he went 8-0-9, played the side lanes, played the pressure game the entire time. We've seen Soaz a number of times single-handedly going for inhibitors and pushing all the rest of the teams, buying time. They've decided to go for a tank. It was a last pick Poppy, which you guys did mention, but we'd forgotten about all the way down.
Oh, no, we just put up the two options, really, and this is just matching tank for tank. Laning phase-wise, Nautilus can actually push in the Poppy early, which is a little bit bad for Amazing. But obviously, they're looking to do the same with Lissandra mid. Honestly, Origin has a fairly weak level 1, 2, 3 push in lanes, which does mean Amazing might have to farm up to level 4 and then start going in when his laners can push back.
So do you go for like a lane swap here maybe right now, or?
I mean, I like playing Lucian in standard lanes, but against Janna, it can also be a little bit... Comes down to Mythi a lot. I think standard lanes are fine for both teams, but Origin could lane swap just to get past a few early levels, because LeBlanc can push early against Lissandra, and then Nautilus can push early against Poppy, which obviously sets up Sven. Not Amazing.
So, gentlemen, last few seconds on the clock. Dexter, as you are the guest here under the desk, who are you predicting to win the first game of this series now that you've seen the team comps?
I mean, it's super hard to predict, but I think I have to give it to TSM though, because I actually believe in Bjergsen's like ability to just snowball this mid lane with Svensken, because that's like the strong point of TSM right now. The synergy, open up the map from mid lane, and then you can make side lane plays. And I know that if you have LeBlanc and get like 1 or 2 kills, you can just like snowball the top side or the bot side. And yeah, I think that TSM should actually be able to close out.
Fan favorite are agreeing with Dexter so far, 55%. Deficio, do you agree too?
For me, it comes down to if Bjergsen is winning mid lane, setting up Sven, TSM wins the game. If not, Origin wins the game, in my opinion. They have double TP in this case. They have a good counter to shut down LeBlanc in team fights with Lissandra as well. So I think this team here with double TP, if they do go past that early game stage, they win.
Well, gentlemen, I do have to cut you off now. The players are just about ready. As we head over to the caster desk, we'll be right back with Origin versus TSM.
Hey guys, welcome back to the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships. We're back with our first elimination match. I'm Doe, and with me are Uber and Monte Cristo, and we're ready. Our best of three, our first best of three of the days. It's been a little bit awkward for both of these teams coming into it, needless to say. So based on that, guys, where do we want to put this one?
I'm very indecisive about this. I'm going to give it to Origin just based on the draft that we've seen right here come out of both of these teams so far. I don't really like that TSM's only form of engage is in fact a Nautilus ultimate, and that requires Nautilus to be there. Otherwise, they're basically running a very slow scaling pick composition, and Origin has more playmaking ability early on in this game with the double TP. So I think I prefer what Origin's trying to do, and I think they're going to take the win.
I definitely think that OG have a better ability to play around their bottom lane, and that's a big problem for TSM right now, of course. Double Lift and Yellow Star still trying to get their acts together. Be interesting to see if they manage to find the fix here.
Yes, well, welcome to Summoner's Rift for Game 1 of TSM versus Origin. Another battle of the Atlantic. Should be a good one, should be a messy one. That's what I like, though. And you're wrong, Monte Cristo. There's more engage on TSM we haven't talked about. Flash, Janna ult. Easy. Get in there, divide and conquer, take them out. That's the Doe way.
Or, you know, Flash Tornado. If you're, you prefer the Aphromo Janna approach, but...
Hey, we've seen it work in Korea way back when. Well, we haven't seen Janna in Korea forever, but... NA, she's still going strong, man.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, it looks like we are going to see a lane swap here coming in from TSM. They're going to, of course, shy away from dealing with a Lucian Thresh lane in the early game. That means that looks like we're not going to see any invades here. So nobody actually trying to punish this.
Interesting.
We'll see if TSM, Yellowstar, and Doublelift here do manage to wrap around over towards the Krugs. This is a very greedy weak side start from Origin. They do have a ward there, so they'll be able to preempt this.
I mean, we saw TSM get a little bit of an edge in the Ever game by invading level 1, getting that kill.
We got a huge edge.
Yeah. I don't think this is going to work out quite the same this time.
No, they're going to have to go straight over to Raptors right now, and that little invade that we just saw TSM do right there is something that Korean teams started doing a couple weeks ago to punish those weak side starts in the lane swap. Yeah. And as a result, because there wasn't any punishment, we did see Sven and Mythi just going straight back to their own Gromp. This is going to be a really good jungle start here for Team Solo Mid, because they're going to be able to take their own red side jungle, and it is denied from them. So excellent work so far. Thresh going to try and get around here, but we do see Nautilus starting to fall back, and he'll be able to deal with Mythi.
You see the Yellowstar also straight on the roam here, of course, is Doublelift left up top side, and he did want to try and keep tabs on the jungle pairing of Origin. So I want to see how this works out. You know, Doublelift, I feel, wants Yellowstar to stay with him, or at least usually in the traditional 2v2. We know Yellowstar wants to roam. He's on Janna, of course, so a little bit more of a risk factor here. Have to see how far he does want to wander.
Yeah, Yellowstar's still here, actually, just harassing Amazing, who's only level 2. And Amazing is just punished for going straight back over to his red side instead of going for his blue buff. So definitely good positioning. As long as you can continue to zone out the jungler, Doublelift will be, of course, a little bit slower of a push without the top laner or the support there.
Looks like TSM might be able to triple buff Origin now, as we see Bjergsen Power of Evil doing some early mid lane trading.
This is why you don't play lane swaps like this anymore. Origin has to go ahead and check that, check the enemy Krugs there on the bottom side of the map. But this is definitely a better lane swap from TSM, better information, and just better technique at this point in time. Origin just getting punished for their greed.
Yeah. Now, one thing I wanted to talk about too is, like, we saw TSM get a really big lead early on against ESC Ever. And that turned around. What exactly happened in that game to make them lose that gigantic lead? I mean, it seems like they just kept pushing things too far.
Well, TSM likes to just group as 5, no matter what their composition is, no matter what their win conditions are. They don't understand team compositions particularly well in game, and they are. Hanser!
Hanser, what are you doing? Oh, minions! The minions are going for first blood. Oh, the shield might be enough. Hanser barely survives.
That was a really, really close call.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, you know, Hanser was so chained towards the mid lane or wherever TSM were grouping in their first game today. It's not the first time we've seen a team pick a composition, then don't really try and activate it through, you know, those strategies.
So this is a big problem. Hanser got so low that he's not able to do anything against this minion wave. Meanwhile, Poppy so has response in the bottom side, but at least killing off some of these minions. So it looks like we are just going to see a tempo advantage here for Origin in spite of that really slow start that they have. We'll see how fast Doublelift and Yellowstar can actually push this wave forward. Lucian and Thresh on the side of Origin will have a pretty distinct advantage when it comes to the turret race.
Pings at Dragon as well here, Svenskeren.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to protect his top laner at this point. I mean, he's pretty behind, needs to be careful. He's fine, though.
For TSM, this probably means they may not be able to get this Dragon now on the bottom side of the map, which is the advantage if you start in the top side in the lane swap, is having access to that little bit of a faster Dragon. They're not going to be too far behind, and we'll see how Origin wants to respond. If they go straight over back to the Herald, then there may be more of an opportunity, but if they have an early enough recall, they can deny the Dragon too.
Sven and Mythi will work on that top tower in due time, and I'll just see now Bjergsen pressuring Power of Evil in the mid lane. Just a little more of a love tap, but definitely going to keep him honest there.
Yeah, it's double Doran's rings for both the mid laners too, so really looking for that early game oomph, and TSM will actually be able to pull out this tower at approximately the same timing, so it looks like the waves weren't there, in fact, for Origin in the top side.
Works out. And yeah, both turrets going down more or less simultaneously. Origin's gonna grab the Rift Herald, hit him in the giant eye. It's a very clearly vulnerable spot.
Also,
why does he have that? Yes. He's kind of like a little mini Nintendo boss, you know, from the old games. They always like open their eye and then they flash red when you hit it there. You're like, well, yeah, that was why does that boss have that? You just, you know, if I was a Rift Herald, I'd get like a hat that covers that, you know? I mean, yeah, I wouldn't be able to see
How about an eye patch? You look like a pirate. He's not using that.
Does it really work if it's a giant eye patch, though?
He's not using that eye except to stare directly into the sun anyway. So
dangerous stuff, man.
He really should. Really should just get an eye patch or some sort of sunglass protector on it.
Amazing here towards that jungle. You will notice, of course, it's Sven. Did go with a cull first off, of course, and you know, OG actually has one of the most skewed team goal distributions in the EULTS. Sven gets all the money.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, he does. And of course we see the Cole coming in here.
Yeah.
And Sven trying to power up, which is normal to see on a Lucian, especially in a lane swap, and into an Ezreal. But man, that build of tier Cull is so greedy from this Ezreal. And we can see that TSM is preferring just to swap away the Ezreal. They don't go for the Dragon. We saw that Amazing, and so has peeled off from that top turret because they had that damage advantage to go ahead and take that Herald. But there's no response from TSM, and they are trying to power up this blue Ezreal as fast as they possibly can.
Well, I mean, if anybody's good at farming on AD carries, Doublelift is probably the guy you want to be doing that. And TSM pretty much saying at this point that they don't want to fight until the late game, huh?
And now we see the same thing Origin did in the last lane swap. Get the Herald and then come bottom to push a tier 2 with the actual buff. TSM just not responding well. They don't have wave clear, and they're going to take a huge amount of turret damage.
Yeah, Janna Shield is going to sustain that turret for a little bit longer at least, but that's a ton of pressure from Origin already in that bot lane.
Wait, Doublelift is farming Raptors right now. He pushed up and Poppy is there. Look at the CS difference between Soaz and Haunter already. There's no defense here. There's no wave clear besides Nautilus, so Origin is going to sweep through the enemy jungle and take a red buff. TSM is sort of falling apart right now.
They want to channel more gold, I guess, in towards Doublelift, but I mean, here comes the Dragon out.
They're losing so much.
They have no control of this part of the map. Look at the wards. Look at where TSM are positioned. And the pause because TSM have realized that they've messed up. I don't know.
Time for TSM to rethink their lives.
Pause. All right, we're not playing Counter-Strike right now. Sorry. So it looks like there's an audio issue on stage. This also happened during the Ever game. That was actually the problem, was there were some audio cutouts on stage. So Niels, and he is actually sitting in the same seat as Loken was. So it looks like it's the same problem that Loken had in the last game.
Maybe that computer is haunted.
That's the only logical conclusion I would have reached to.
The spirits of IEM's past, you know?
Well,
reused in there.
History, as Carmack put it.
These guys have both won IEMs previously and within the last 12 months.
The last two, yeah.
True.
That's right.
So it's not very haunting, is it, their victory?
Maybe not. I mean, like the spirit of Todd floats out. He's like, is Warcraft 4 out yet?
And he's still waiting to this day.
As originally a Warcraft 3 caster, that's where I started my casting career 10 years ago. I'm still waiting for Warcraft 4. I would love to see that.
I've been playing Warcraft since like 1994, I think, when it came out. So. Me too. Now, you have to go, Uber, you have to go one back even farther. You'd be like, well, in the 1800s, I was playing a Warcraft trading card game.
I mean, go back any further than your anecdotes, and I'm not born yet, so. It's true.
Well, you'll get there.
Chicken. I mean, look, let's talk about this, though. Like, Haunter not getting much love right now. Soaz, and Soaz often finds himself in a similar position, right? Both these guys are considered to be top laners that have to survive in sort of low econ conditions. But this is super low econ for Haunter. This is fairly miserly as well with Doublelift taking it away. So as we saw him struggle to become the threat that he had to be in that previous game, maybe an opening there for him.
Well, I mean, he made the mistake. He was the one who got wrecked by that turret and then had to recall instead of actually dealing with the wave. And that's how these lane swaps end up working and how important they are, because Poppy was able just to sit there and just very aggressively farm that lane because it took a little bit longer for that top turret to go down. He did get chunked out, so he couldn't stay there any longer, or else he was risking giving up first blood. Now, would he have given up first blood without shoving that wave, maybe pruning it just a little bit more? Probably not, but there's an off chance that Nidalee is just on the quote wrong unquote side of the map and pops out of a bush and kills you. And I think he just got a little bit flustered. But as a result, Origin is just devouring the map right now. They're going to be able to take this first dragon that TSM couldn't get due to the lack of speed that they had. And Soaz has been able to find the farm. And it's just Doublelift here with the blue build Ezreal playing aggressively in lane. And it's not like he's getting much of an advantage out of it. This just means that from TSM. They are taking these losses, they are taking these lumps, and Doublelift must carry this game now.
Well, that's kind of, you know, part of what they were expecting in the first game they played today against Ever. And to be fair, well, Soaz trying to get out, knocks away Spencer and gets kicked the wrong direction. Soaz still in a little bit of trouble. There's the Ultra Shot barrage comes through. Soaz flashes out of the way, and he's going to be able to make it. No first blood quite yet. But going back to Doublelift carrying, man, I mean, he did get a pentakill in game number 1. I mean, you can't really ask for much more hard carrying than that. And that was a little bit of a weird end to that game, but, you know,
That's putting it lightly.
He also got caught out in game number 1.
He
did enable timing windows for Ever to get back. So it was a bit of a mixed bag. Certainly, pentakill itself was impressive, but his individual performance and where he was pushing up was a little bit dodgy, I would say. And now Origin, they're just going to bounce right back on this wave. They have nothing left to take in the bottom side of the map, hand over Power of Evil, the blue buff, and then continue pushing in the top side.
And let's also take away something that Doublelift has also said about himself. He's super focused on his task to the extent of him actually not being able to focus on the rest of the map. He tunnel visions, and he admits that. Now that's going to be exacerbated even more because he kind of has to. It's not every man for himself, but Doublelift definitely has to look after his own backyard here if he's going to get himself into the position where he can carry this for TSM.
Yeah, and he has the Sheen now, so at least he's been able to pick up something that's actually useful in these early trades.
well, I mean, that said, all this talk about Doublelift, I mean, at the same time, if Bjergsen is able to kind of keep slowly powering up, he's going to be a threat from the sides, you know, when the team fights happen a little bit later. Origin's going to need to think about that a little bit at least.
He is to a certain degree, but I think one of the issues is that, of course, we are going to see the Negatron Cloak and then into the Abyssal first here on Power of Evil, so he will be neutralized. And I think from Doublelift's perspective, with them putting so many eggs in the basket, that he has to be very careful about Lissandra ults in this game, because if he gets caught out in a team fight, it's just over. There's not enough sustained damage from the rest of TSM's composition.
So how fast do you pick up the QSS then if you're Doublelift?
I would pick it up
Pretty quick.
Pretty quick.
Yeah, like a second item, second major item.
No, you're probably getting it third after Iceborne and Manamune, but
Okay.
you kind of do need those core items on Ezreal to have any sort of effect on the game whatsoever.
Yeah.
But again, the Cole is here, so he does have, starting to stack that up just a little bit, and we'll see what he can do with it.
I guess he's trying to smooth out his course towards those important items for Ezreal. But again, it's also on him to keep himself out of danger. And you can see OG gravitating towards his part of the map. They'd love to sink their teeth into Doublelift right now, as vulnerable as he is. And Yellow Star is not much more durable, I think it's safe to say.
I mean, Yellow Star's only level 4, and Origin is just getting hooked.
Oh, yeah, he stayed too long, got hooked, got brought into the box. There's a flash. There's first blood, goes to Mithy. And man, Yellow Star really wanted to stay in that brush for a long time, and that was maybe not the greatest idea on a squishy support like Janna.
Well, I love what Amazing's doing this game. We saw there's Arcane Shift out there really close.
Yep.
But we saw the
TP coming in.
And looks like we are going to see Haunter get there. What will he be able to do with this one, though? Surely this will be answered by TP from OG, and it is. Haunter there. He's going to get the knock-up, the follow-up, kind of non-existent. Here comes the TP. Power of Evil now into the fight. Svenskeren may be caught, but Soaz was the first one on the chopping block.
Whoa.
Gets up on the side, and Haunter again, very, very deep. Poppy dust ball. Soaz hits the deck. Now Power of Evil being focused down, but the chase is on. This is a bloodbath. Haunter drops as well. Back and forth. Double kill comes out for Bjergsen, and they're limping away from this fight. Sven trying to escape.
Yeah, it doesn't have any mana, though.
Yeah, Svenskeren trying to come in. He's like, I need to reclaim the dude who took like part of my name. Oh, Sven battling the clone. Uh-oh, escape. Oh, turret. Oh, he's got like no health left. Looks like he's gonna make it out though. That was close. I mean, Bjergsen could theoretically catch up, but he's so low too. It's not really worth the risk. True shot barrage doesn't quite get him.
Still,
somehow, some way, he makes it out of there.
That's a huge number of kills onto an early LeBlanc. And maybe if we could see this replay. No,
never mind.
That's okay.
I just love to look at the teams.
I like
look at the intensity.
Too.
Let's look at Soaz for the rest of the day. Oh, no. Oh, okay. Now we get to look at smaller Soaz. Smaller Yellow Star.
Neither of these teams clearly are afraid to go for the fight. It was a very, very messy one. And the weirdest fights are the ones where your players are backing away at the very sliver of health and you're seeing maybe what opportunities can be created. And I don't think you can cut it any closer than Sven just did there. But it's 4-4 in kills and slight gold lead to OG here.
Yeah. You know why Sven ran away from the TSM jungler? Because the jungler was Svenskeren. I'd like to apologize on behalf of ESL for those last comments. Doe does not represent anything. Anyone thinks of ESL. We brought him here for Korea. We don't really know why.
Well played, sir. That last fight, though, I think Origin could and should have had the upper hand, because even though the collapse was coming in, they had the 2 TPs. The big problem was that SOAS dove too far underneath the turret. It took a lot of tower damage. They sort of backed out and then reassessed their siege. They should have been able to continue just to push on that tower. There's not really a lot, I think, that TSM could have done, but they went on the offensive just a little too much, and instead of just keeping their eyes on the prize, which was these tier 2 turrets.
I mean, that's what we saw in their first game today, right? I mean, just going a little bit too hard on the aggression when they could just kind of focus on the objective game. Wow, Power of Evil taking a ton of damage there from Bjergsen. He's starting to hurt a little bit.
Well, you know, Head LeBlanc.
Yeah, even the Abyssal Scepter as well. You know, going for a bit more resistance still. Obviously, Bjergsen got a bit pressure when we expect no less from the man. And now Baron take here for OG. You can see their map control has actually always been skewed towards his bottom part of the map. See where the wards are. They haven't bothered too much, leaving SOAS on his own. And OG are a team who loves to play around the bottom side of the map. They love to take dragons. They got the highest dragon secure rate in the EU LCS.
Yeah, and 2 already.
2 at 14 minutes. It's going pretty well. We're going to be looking at a 30-minute possible 5th dragon here for Origin, and that is quite accelerated. And TSM's composition with this Ezreal is going to take a little bit to come online. So there's a real threat here that unless TSM can somehow win a team fight, and remember, they are still at a gold deficit, and a lot of it is due to this extreme farm difference in the top side of the map. It could be quite challenging.
I mean, part of it too is that if you're Origin, you get onto TSM side of the map, you put down wards, you can start poking at those turrets while kind of containing Bjergsen too, and not having to worry about him coming from the side and destroying somebody. So it's if I was TSM right now, I'd be starting to get a little bit worried.
They have to be really careful too, because both of their side lane tier 2s are down, and once those fall, the minion waves will just constantly push into your side of the map, and that's a level of pressure that it will be hard to sustain against, especially with the differential in the top laners at the moment.
Very, very simple, of course. Control for OG. You just push up the battle line. That no man's land of the river or in the middle just inches forward, and plenty of breathing room for OG now. They are going to sort of congregate around this mid tower here. As you can see Svenskeren off towards the side. Not dying so much as we often see him do.
Hello.
Spoke too soon.
Found a Lee in. There's the Flay as well. Svenskeren should be able to get out of there.
Yeah, Power of Evil decided not to actually use his ultimate right there onto Svenskeren, as they didn't actually have good vision down towards that bottom side of the river, but I think there was an opportunity there to actually pick up that kill.
Could have been, yeah. And I mean,
he had his Ignite up too, so.
Why not go for it too? Because it's not like there's going to be a dragon really soon or anything, but deciding to play it safe, I suppose.
Sven now pressuring the man with the money, or at least that's the intention for OG for the most part. Hauntzer and Yellowstar are still there with SOAS having gone back. And note as well, a double lift, again, just continuing to farm here. Does have a small lead over Sven, but no kills, no money for that part.
Yep, another Rift Herald going over to Origin.
Yeah, and I just really like how they've been playing with this Herald. Besides that mess up in Origin where some of them wanted to go in and some of them should have been back, they all should have been backing off just to try and re-engage on to a siege. In both their games so far, they've shown very good early Rift Herald use when it comes to getting damage onto tier 2s, and they nearly took it down. Now we have amazing backup here. Again, TSM's going to likely try and make that same collapse that we saw earlier.
Yeah, they're going to try to flank, it looks like, but there's plenty of wards, though, for Origin, so they're not going to get caught by this.
This is what they want to do. I mean, we'll see if they... Looks like TSM's going to respond with a 5-man stack in the mid lane, but this could be a little bit dangerous for them. Depends on how much...
Oh, Power of Evil,
early.
Has ult himself, flashes out of the two-shot barrage.
Really not necessary to use that flash right there, I don't feel.
He wasn't going to really come close to dying at all from that.
That was actually, I think, a little bit of an overcommitment to that defense there from Power of Evil. Very early, used the Frozen Tomb.
Oh, Svenskeren kicks amazing back over the wall. He's going to leap back. The box is used. Bjergsen comes in, destroys amazing. TSM gets an easy pick there.
What a weird little do-si-do there. I mean, they backed away from that mid tower, of course. The TSM had to sort of come back as the stall from Power Evil. And then, again, TSM managed to get what they were looking for, a pick, something.
Well, it's just that Origin, their mid laner, PoE, just gets bullied out of the lane, and then Origin decides that they can suddenly walk into the river when they know TSM has just left and has a lot of power left over. It's just basically a free kill there for Bjergsen because they didn't have any pressure in mid lane to back up their advance into the river. They had the wards, but pretty easy collapse there, and Svenskeren sets up the play.
Well, we haven't exactly seen the cleanest games from either of these teams today. More of the same, but, you know, opportunities for both sides, too, to capitalize on those types of things. And I think that's going to be a big part in defining who takes this series, is who can capitalize on those little errors more, you know?
Well, there's so much gold in these turrets, the two in the side and that one in the mid lane. See a little bit of a fight right now.
Svenskeren having to back away there. Soaz wanted to start something, but of course, slippery Lee Sin back over the wall. TSM, though, look to want to come forward. They're not really afraid here.
Yeah, not wanting to commit to that one quite as much, or commit to a response, that is. TSM still wants to put some pressure onto the mid lane. Soaz is in bottom lane. Doublelift meets him. It gets knocked up. Doublelift may have to run away a little bit here. Well, Soaz not wanting to do it. I mean, there's more members of TSM so close by. It would be too risky. Well, hello. Amazing walks right into Svenskeren. Tries to get back to the base. Svenskeren in the enemy base right now. There's a knockup from Yellowstar, but he's on his own. The Q doesn't hit. Svenskeren is trapped in Origin's base. Bjergsen gets the kill on Amazing, and they manage to keep Yellowstar safe. Somebody let Lee Sin skate. There we go. Okay. Lee Sin just wanted to get out of the base. Let him safeguard away. And somehow that works out well for TSM in the end. I mean, they lose a turret, I guess. They trade, but they get the kills.
Power Evil had teleport right there, and they definitely had pink wards in their blue side of their own jungle, and I feel that they could have actually collapsed and really punished that play coming in from TSM, but they just don't go for it.
Well, Hanser gets the blue buff, for TSM at least. Sven not able to grab that one.
Off the back of this persistent push, or this persistent, Double just wants to farm, right? But in the process, he has been able to make progress down that bottom lane. You can see now TSM, conversely, extending their reach in towards the blue side jungle of OG, and they'd work with that just now. You saw Svenskeren his pick. That's because TSM set up there, were able to catch him off and make the play. So, I mean, we're talking about OG, how they had control, they were working objectives really, really well, but TSM still managed to get by without that.
Yeah, they're going to collapse onto Poppy here, too, looks like. Bjergsen rounding the corner. Soaz is in trouble.
Yeah, just going to go right on to Bjergsen to try to get away. Pops that W so Bjergsen can't follow.
Yeah, that actually is important because LeBlanc wanted her to... What Power of Evil?
Whoa, okay, well, decides to TP now. Comes in, takes a lot of damage, does a lot to Bjergsen as well. Bjergsen coming in, wants that kill on the Power of Evil. He's going to get it. Origin loses one already. They're going to have to back away. Svenskeren with a nice kick, bidding into Soaz, and now Sven with a little bit of damage. They managed to take down Svenskeren, but TSM still all over this fight. A double kill comes in for Hanser. There goes Soaz, an easy kill for Doublelift, and that was just a completely disjointed attempt at an engage for a team fight from Origin.
I just don't get what Origin is doing because half of them are going in and half of them are going out in each one of these fights. I mean, that teleport really surprised me coming in from Power of Evil because he was left in the middle of a mob of TSM members with absolutely no backup. It's just very confusing, and now TSM is going to get their first dragon of the game. It's going to slow down the pace here, and TSM will also take a gold lead. They'll be able to push in this tier 1 mid turret, and this is just all going wrong for Origin. TSM, Bjergsen's just doing work. He's contributed a 9 out of 10 of these kills. He's been in the right place.
The ground and pound duo, Svenskeren and Bjergsen, has been working out pretty nicely. You saw between them they set up some quite a few kills, and even he went in there, of course, Svenskeren that is, kicked Soaz back out towards the rest of the team, went straight to the keeper, as we say in Australia. Easy pickup, and 5-0-4. I mean, that's pretty frightening for this LeBlanc, and it's Bjergsen of all people.
Yeah, and you also have this scaling Ezreal, too, who has a farm advantage and is getting to the point in the game where he's going to be extremely potent. He's even, looks like, going after the Maw himself now to help deal with the magic damage from Amazing and Power of Evil. So Sven going to have to do some hard carrying. And I wanted to point this out earlier, but he actually bought Static Shiv. Normally we would see something like the Rapid Fire Cannon second on Lucian. But what this says is they want to split push. But this confuses me. This confuses me, guys, because
why?
You could split push with Lissandra and Poppy right now. You don't need to split push with your AD carry or have that necessary wave clear. I do understand the wave clear aspect of it if he's grouped up Or I get it. Okay, if you won 3-1 and you have you're not as reliant on.
Oh, Soaz coming in, nails Yellow Star to the wall. They're gonna grab him. Easy kill for Origin. As we finish understanding Monty's thought process a little bit better.
Uh-oh.
Play onto Hanser, gets ulted. Actually, that was just a W. Origin's still chasing, though.
Power of Evil's doing a good job of holding his ult right here and not committing to it. They managed to pick off Yellow Star, well, retaining the Frozen Tomb or Glacial Tomb, whatever the hell it's called.
Tomb something.
He doesn't have the quickest trigger finger, fortunately. He's just holding back. I mean, you saw, using the Ring of Frost, we thought he was ulted, of course, with the massive model of...
no, I thought he was ulted. Don't join me in that. You can just let me have that one. It's good for you.
Yeah, I didn't.
Monty, it was only me. I'll bring you down with me. It was a big W. Nautilus misrepresents the size of abilities sometimes.
Got Elixir of Iron in him, and he's looking even bigger. But I mean, OG with that little pick off there. I mean, they're backing up now. They know that TSM are going to doggedly be pushing forward. And now, because you can see Power Evil is off in that side lane. A little bit of a push, not going too far. It's the TP coming in, though.
Yeah, they're going to try to engage here from behind. Power of Evil comes from the side, pops that W. Going to ult himself to slow down Svenskeren. Hanser kick onto Mythy, goes into the back lines there. They get a kill immediately. Mythy grabbing that one. Bloodthirsty 3, 2, and 3 on that Thresh. I can respect it. Ooh, proc on the Sven slows him down, but lucky for that Lucian, TSM wasn't able to catch up.
Yeah, Amazing has to be really careful here. That LeBlanc is incredibly strong right now. They're just going to back off. But, okay, so they get a kill, but they don't actually apply any pressure. So as here off on the side, 4 members of TSM starting to surround him. They're going to get the hook.
So as being caught up now as well. He's going to try and back away, but Power of Evil also feigning that he'd go for the fight. He knew he was just trying to scare TSM back, and OG have to give Soap up. Has a bit of a burnt offering there and just try and get away with their lives.
And who doesn't like the smell of burnt poppy, right?
Charred poppy is one of my favorite scents. I actually have a candle, charred poppy.
Charred poppy went to like a Yankee candle. It's like, I like charred poppy. It's our new spring scent.
But everybody just getting picked off in this game, in spite of the fact that Origin were on that power play right there after the TP coming in and taking advantage of the fact that Bjergsen wasn't there to actually respond when they went for a little bit of an all-in. Just getting out of position, then picked off, surrounded very easily. So as there, it's kind of just been a wash this game, and honestly, it's really difficult in this particular game to call this one based on on champion select or power level, because there have just been so many errors that it's just a toss-up.
I mean, it's just going to be one of those games where the death timers get long enough, and there's going to be a big team fight, and whoever wins it will win the game.
You're right.
Build up to that critical
Spoiler
mass.
alert. That's
yeah, sorry guys. I mean, you build up to that critical mass. It's simple. It's all this time of feigning back and forth, but we also knew that these two teams, this would be a bloody game. We know OG love to fight. TSM have 3 players in the top 12 deaths in the NALCS, so they're featuring a lot.
They love to die. Is that, I guess that's what you're saying.
They're fighting one way or another. That's all I'm saying.
It looks like Sven is. We'll see what he's going for here. Maybe a BT, which would be a little bit odd, but I think he's just very concerned with the amount of damage that Bjergsen can deal right now. But as a result, the Shiv into BT build is going to be relatively low damage in a composition where he actually has to deal a lot of damage in order to win these team fights. Somebody has to kill that Nautilus.
Well, TSM knows all too well from their earlier game today what a Lucian who's able to carry can do against him.
This one is not going to be able to carry, though.
Oh, never know. Yeah. After game 1, I've learned to just never call games over today.
Fair enough.
That's right. I'm just giving up on that for the weekend.
You couldn't make that up, really. I mean, here.
No.
We've got to accept that there's a multitude of different possibilities, and all of them probably just as shocking as the last. But Svenskeren looking for a little bit more vision control. You can see, of course, Bjergsen splits off towards the top side, so they're looking to exercise a little bit of pressure here, and Double Lift being channeled off towards the side of the river with Svenskeren as OG set up in mid, just muscle their way through.
Yeah, I think Origin here, they have to focus on this dragon. Continue getting those dragon stacks if possible. They're going to be on number 3 right after this, but TSM's going to try apply with some cross-map pressure here. There's nothing to defend this tier 2, so we may have actually a bit of a base race scenario going on. TSM's going to be a turret in the lead.
Yeah, they're going to get that top lane tier 2 recalls coming in from Origin. They don't want to lose that inhibitor.
They are going to have to recall, and they send Sven there just to try and put some damage down onto the tier 2.
They may still lose the turret. Sven thinking about coming in. No, or Power of Evil. Power of Evil thinking about coming in. Power of Evil getting kicked into the team. Ults himself. TSM not able to take him out. Well, bye. Bye, Nautilus. And here we go. Now Lysandra thinking about coming in. Doesn't go ahead and do it. Origin picks up the kill, though.
Yeah, but they're still here, and Sven is still pushing that mid lane.
Whoa, Bjergsen doing a ton of damage. TSM has a great opportunity now. With Power of Evil out of the way, they can take this inhibitor pretty easily, it seems like.
Sven, I mean, he needs to now at least try and get some value for this. He's going to knows his team has lost that top inhibitor, and he's going to be battering away this one in the mid. It's going to be close. I think you better take it as TSM are being interrupted from back, and they can't get back to base, and they've got to do it the old-fashioned way on foot.
Well, so they do end up trading inhibitors. Dragon is up, too, and if Origin can grab that, take their third Dragon, I would call that a win.
Yeah, Sven should walk over to the Dragon immediately and try and actually take this. That's what he's going to do with Amazing's Nidalee, and that was an interesting trade, of course, with the extra kill going over TSM, but definitely the value there with the extra Dragon going to Origin. And the mid lane inhibitor a little bit more, I would say a little bit more important at this stage. It's the bottom, if you can get that one all the way across the map from Baron would be preferable. So neither top nor mid, such a disaster if you had to consider trading one for the other.
Well, true.
3 Dragons here for OG. I mean, yeah, not everyone's playing around it really seriously in this patch, but it's still going to be a factor. It's just they always seem to want to go for that one in whatever way, whatever objectives they can look to secure, they're doing that. But one we haven't really touched on is the Baron. Neither of his teams really going heavily towards that one yet. You've got to be thinking that they respect, I guess, what might happen if they're caught out by either team here.
Well, you know, normally we'd think about this Baron and we'd say, okay, well, the blue Ezreal's probably going to be able to do it pretty fast. But remember, he built Maw as a third item instead of Blade of the Ruin King. So that is not going to be quite as fast when it comes to securing a Baron objective. And he has been delayed just because both of these AD carries have gone pretty darn defensive in their build choices in Bloodthirster and Maw, which you can understand considering that there is a very fed LeBlanc and a Lysandra who is less than fed, but still a danger.
Yeah, you still need to be careful, that's for sure. TSM just putting as much pressure on the mid lane as they can before rotating to bottom just to kind of mitigate losing that inhibitor.
Yeah, also interesting, Mithy has gone for a Banner of Command here for some more split push pressure. Yeah. And for some siege too, because again, TSM's wave clear is, I think, dubious in the late game if you have that Baron empowered minion from the Banner. But that said, the Locket is pretty useful against LeBlanc and Ezreal burst. And if you get into a team fight, that could be a pretty big difference into who's going to win.
Yeah, TSM looking for that tier 2 in mid now. Sven just popping the culling to push them off. And he will for now. Bjergsen looking for some damage onto Mithy. Gets some. That's a lot.
Actually landed the hook there too, but Bjergsen was able to pop right back over that wall.
Yep.
Just couldn't quite find the catch.
You can see that down inhibitor now starting to take its toll as OG have to split their consciousness, I guess, between middle and top. TSM want to keep pressure onto this one. You can see the setup. They're not going anywhere. They've got the sleeping bags rolled out. The campfire started up. They want to come forward here on towards this tower.
Yeah, the main issue is, here we go. They're going to knock them right back out. So taking the minions out as well.
See them continue to come forward, though. Soaz backing off there. Keeper's Verdict did its job with Haunter right towards the back. TSM had to halt their advance. And now, of course, Inhibitor down in that mid lane. They're going to deal with super minions to push against. Bit of breathing space here for OG. Svenskeren, I hope there was a few teammates there for him there. He's going to take away that buff. The red, of course, is Amazing can only look on is when you have the backup.
And I believe there's a Banner of Command. Yep, there's a Banner of Command minion that's pushed all the way down this bot lane now.
Yeah, and that's what I was going to mention is the Banner of Command minion was actually one of the major factors. Look with this Nautilus. He can't even do anything to this Banner minion. Just has to auto it with Iceborne Gauntlet procs in order to kill it. But yes, that was a huge factor into why that siege in the mid lane actually stalled out right there, was that somebody had to go deal with it because that wave was just getting bigger and bigger and bigger in that bottom side and threatening to take out another tier 2 turret. So the defense holds there from Origin. It was looking a little bit scary, but the Banner actually saves the day. And there is another bannered minion somewhere on this map right now.
It's in the bot lane. We're looking at it right now.
Oh, there it is. All right.
Yep. It's right in front of you, Monte Cristo.
And also just letting it go. He's going to head back. He probably wants to join up with the rest of his team. It's been such tentative moments over the last 10 minutes. Both these two teams are really just pacing back and forth. They know there's a lot to lose. We talked about how those death timers are getting longer. That critical mass is getting closer and closer, and one mistake could cost TSM the game. It would be a repeat of what happened to them earlier.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever see a repeat of what happened in the first game today.
I hope not. I'm sorry.
That'd be crazy, man. But I mean, it is true in that you know, the big team fights are going to really determine who's going to be able to pick up those objectives, those big inhibitors.
Well, it's interesting, though, because I think Origin has had the right idea in the early game, and I liked how they were playing pressure. They just had very poor execution. That was what set them astray here, because TSM was just able to pick them off, able to skirmish better, and there wasn't any punishment for this Ezreal, who's getting really quite terrifying right now. Yeah. Probably should sell that Doran's Blade and actually get wards, but...
Nah, you need the Doran's Blade, man.
No, you don't.
Dude, Doran made that blade personally for you. Are you going to disrespect him by just selling it?
I mean, he made it for like
discarding it.
Half the people in the game, so
but it was his
not
first
so
blade.
Special.
It's got sentimental value. It was my first blade. I bought it at level 1.
It's a terrible item. Why couldn't Doran make me an Infinity Edge?
He sold it. Are you happy now? He picked up a QSS.
I'll take it.
Good enough. It's not a pink ward, but it's useful. Svenskeren just brutally beating that helpless crab. Poor animal.
You can see TSM pinging that bottom lane as well. You can see how it's obviously pushing towards him, of course, with Banner Command being used. And, you know, Holtz is on clear duty as well, which is probably not where he'd love to be right now, or maybe where he's best employed, but it just has to be done as OG. Again, that's going to be a draw card for them. That's going to keep TSM a little bit more preoccupied. Of course, teleports are all available, so we're definitely sitting on the cusp of something. The question is, who's going to make that first step forward to try and open up a real opportunity?
Yeah, well, Origin's trying something here. Oh, Bjergsen coming from the side, doing like 2/3 of Power of Evil's health and damage. Svenskeren gets in Sven's face, but no plays to be made. And TSM, you know, making a big effort to set up for this next dragon, too. They really don't want Origin to get one dragon away from that 5-dragon stack, and looks like TSM should pretty much have this one locked up.
That was actually really nice from Double. If they had a ward in the brush right out of the base, Power of Evil was trying to recall, and what he did was he shot the True Shot Barrage there to delay the recall so that TSM could very safely pick up this next dragon with literally no chance of a teleport coming in from Power of Evil unless they wanted to come in at like 1/3 HP. So nice ult there.
Yeah. Works out.
Said we'd be seeing him farm up for a little bit now. I mean, what do you reckon, guys? Is he hitting that point? Is he looking scary? Lord Dominic's regards added to his personal arsenal here as well.
Should be. I don't know why.
It's only really efficient, though, against the Poppy. That's what's a little bit weird about it, is that this build on Ezreal is going to be relatively low damage as far as blue Ezreal builds go. It's still going to be good, but you know, when we talk about the Blade of the Ruined King and some of those other items, I think it might be doing a little bit more, but certainly still scary with the kind of advantage that he has. The real thing here, though, is Bjergsen, and he has absolutely taken over this game. You can tell everybody on Origin just mortally afraid of what he can do to them, and no one is really able to have a high rate of survivability. We see even Mythy now looking like he's going to be building into a Frozen Heart, which seems awfully inefficient against TSM's composition.
I don't think it does a whole lot against Bjergsen.
Or Double Lift, I mean.
Or Double Lift. Huh.
Certainly, Ezreal's still going to be able to do a lot of damage just with his spells in some of these fights.
Sure. Well, TSM seems to have the edge right now anyway. And they're going to go up to top lane to take out that inhibitor again.
Well, that was undefended.
Yeah, Origin just kind of hanging out in mid lane, and they're just going to straight up lose this. Maybe. I don't know. Okay. TSM didn't commit as hard as I thought they would. Hanser gets grabbed. They pull him into the box. Sven firing from the side, pops that culling, and now Soaz comes in, throws Double Lift against the wall. Two-shot Barrage does not go the right direction, and TSM having to back up a little bit. Hanser grabbed again. A bit of a stalemate in this fight, but TSM might be able to go in. Oh, there we go. On to Power of Evil, ults himself. That inhibitor looking very vulnerable. Zonia's used. Svenskeren looking a little bit dead. Amazing with the kill there. TSM still threatening. Yellowstar just pops that heal. The Jan ultimate pushing Origin back. TSM grinding their way towards this inhibitor. Finally gets it. But man, it cost him, but it worked out in the end.
I don't even know what to say about that fight. So Origin starts out with a hook.
Oh, Mythy! He lived.
hook box onto Hansar. So they use a lot to actually chunk him out at the start of that fight. To which the response from Soaz is to ult him away so that they can't kill him, and then double lift True Shot barrages backwards down the lane.
It's been one of those days.
It has been one of those days, Doa. So
a little bit.
Pretty bizarre decisions, I would say, from both sides of that little engagement right there. And Nautilus is able just to simply walk back into that fight, tank up everything, and Bjergsen just has that burst damage over and over and over again, and he's so far ahead at this point that he's able just to do a huge amount. They take the inhibitor again, but Origin also so slow to come back up and even defend that in the first place. It was kind of a desperation attempt from them, honestly, once the inhib was already down to about 20%.
I mean, it was bizarre, but I feel like almost both teams in that fight were afraid to commit. You know, they both knew that losing that fight apocalyptically would kind of be the end.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. So I think we're just seeing both teams be very hesitant about their team fighting right now.
Way too close to home for OG. Just as well, they managed to pick off Svenskeren as well, even after Soaz's minor gaff with the knockback. He actually managed to knock Svenskeren up against the wall. So they managed to single him out, get rid of him. Because, I mean, even the slightest further mistake there for OG would have been curtains.
Yeah. Well, TSM pushing up the mid lane now. See what they can do. They've got Hansar down in bot lane, too. Oh, Svenskeren getting a little bit caught out. Gets ulted by Lissandra. There's the end of him. Sven with the kill there. Soaz takes a few parting shots, but that is exactly the opposite of what TSM needs right now. You don't want people being caught when you're trying to put on pressure.
So Svenskeren had no vision inside the base right there while he was trying to take out that pink ward, and you could just get hit by a thresh hook from there, and then there is no coming back if you are Lee Sin without any kind of QSS, because the ult from Lissandra is going to lock you up.
Svenskeren played a very clean early game. He was like 2-0 and 3 at one point, which is, to be fair, not something we always see from him. But now he's starting to give away the game a little bit here. A couple kills here and there. 2 in a row. Baron being started by OG.
Yeah.
But they only have 3 people, so they're not going to get much. TP's coming in.
That's right. Origin trying to engage on this one. Mithy knocked up. Disengaged from Janna, and here comes Power of Evil over the wall. Uses a W to slow up Hansar just a bit. TSM with that slow, steady disengage. They managed to avoid the fight. They certainly don't want to do it 4v5. Svenskeren just came up right now, but turning it around, trying to grab Soaz. It would still be a 4v5 until Lee Sin gets there, so I don't know.
I understand what Origin is trying to do by taking a little bit of a sneaky Baron right there, but because they committed 2 teleports to that, now they have no defense against what's about to happen at this Baron that TSM is going to do.
Yes, the Nexus turret falling down for a moment. OG have blinked it, of course. That's going to cost them now. And TSM now starting off with this Baron, but amazing. He's waiting in the wings. He's not going to let this one slide so easy.
Yeah, wanted to try to go in for a steal against his former team. Doesn't look like he's going to get the opportunity, though. TSM with a more or less uncontested Baron.
Easy call, and that was the right call, absolutely, from TSM. They not only stopped the 3-man Baron attempt, but instead of disengaging, 2 TPs committed to that, which means that they have to go back. There's no more TPs for them to both defend their base, defend their Nexus turrets, and simultaneously try and fight that Baron. So easy Baron there for TSM.
Well, they can kind of forget the next dragon, too, that's coming up in 5 seconds.
TSM now will just play off the back of that one. We saw amazing off to the side, but of course with Sven having to go back and get rid of those minions, now TSM can just apply a little bit more pressure now in towards the mid. Of course, Inhibitor still down top side, and Mithy going to avoid the dredge line in from Haunter, but you can see what TSM are looking for right here. Bit of momentum build up, and they're looking for blood.
Oh yeah, Origin wants to try to find a pick, maybe find a fight if they can, but we're noticing something about TSM that's a bit different this game. They're not going for those crazy dives. They're not trying to really overdo things like we saw in game number 1. That ended up costing them. This one, it still hasn't been the cleanest game, but it's been a bit more methodical in terms of how TSM are trying to close it out.
They also drafted a team composition with which they can group up as 5, and they won't be unduly punished for it.
That's not bad either.
Oh, I'm sure they'll take it and try and run with it, see what they can make of it. But now it's the 4-1 split, of course, with Bjergsen. The beast that he is at 6-0 and 5 in the bottom lane, obviously daring someone from OG to challenge him and try to stop him from shoving wave after wave in under OG's nose. And
you just can't. You can't fight Bjergsen right now.
No, that's been the single biggest factor in this game, too. His ability to get picks and to chunk out members of Origin has allowed TSM to get a lot of these objectives.
Well, top inhibitors back for Origin, for the moment anyway. But TSM putting all this pressure on with Baron. That mid turret's getting a little bit low. Culling used just to push a minion wave back.
So OG looking to get, TSM trying to get maximum value out of this Baron. There's actually a way of pushing top on towards that inhibitor, so then we might see them just rotate through here and try and push that one in, get some damage across here. And again, Bjergsen still in mid, never too far from the action, of course, and he might be able to join it in from the backside. You can see he now sneaks in through the gate. They're going to take down that inhibitor turret in the mid. Good pick.
Oh yeah, making it look easy, and I mean, TSM just has the lead, has all the pressure right now. Sven can push this minion wave back just a little bit, but Origin having a really hard time keeping TSM out of their base. Soaz goes for a pick there. Power of Evil comes in, actually ults himself. Mithy grabs Hanser, a bit of a bad engage from Origin. Power of Evil already so low, tries to stay alive with that Zhonya's, doesn't work out. Sven scared with the kill. Yellowstar comes in with Janna. There's a nice heal for TSM, pushing OG back just enough for TSM to take that inhibitor. And it's looking like this may be the beginning of the end as the second inhibitor falls.
It's going to be a little bit of a clean up here as well. TSM still have 5 to work with. I mean, Soaz tried again to take Svenskeren out of the action. You saw the charge against the wall, but no follow-up. Power of Evil got bursted right down, but TSM, they're going to play this one conservatively here, a 44-minute game. They're going to stretch it a little bit longer.
I guess so, yeah.
Well, you just don't have enough damage to kill Hanser right now. That is the problem, is that the only consistent damage in the late game is coming out as Sven. He has itemized, at least he has, of course, the Infinity Edge right now, but it's definitely not the highest damage AD carry build. And there's a Thornmail onto Hanser. He knows that. He's itemized heavily into that armor. So once Power of Evil goes through his burst, goes through the motions, there's just nothing left. And there's another dragon there for TSM, equalizing it at 3.
Yep, and that pretty much guarantees that neither team's going to reach 5 dragons this game. At least you'd assume that anyway. You'd think TSM would be able to close this one out pretty soon, having 2 inhibitors down. But then again, I said the same thing a few hours ago.
I, for one, am looking forward to our 56-minute fifth dragon.
We're used to this, man. We've got teams in Korea with like a 43-minute average game time, so this is nothing new for us.
This is the OG sort of play for late game approach as well. We've seen this from them quite frequently in a lot of their victories in the EU LCS. Also, let the whole poke enemies out and hope they don't TP in behind you, to quote Amazing here as well, which we have seen a little bit of, but TSM continuing to come forward. What are your thoughts here as well? I mean, Sven gets all the money, but he's not investing in a super high damage build, a little bit conservative from him. Is he going to be able to have the intended impact for OG?
Well, he can't, otherwise he just gets blown up by Bjergsen. He doesn't, there's not really a choice here, unfortunately, for him. He's still going to be doing a good amount of damage, but he has to be very concerned. The Maw and the Bloodthirster, he's decided he needs that overshield. He needs the Maw and the MR to actually survive the Magic Shield as well, to actually survive under these conditions. And you know, it's a tough call because everything in this game has hinged upon this 6-0 and 5 LeBlanc.
Yeah. Bjergsen kind of blowing up the way he did and being able to blow other people up too really gave TSM a lot of flexibility in terms of how they control the game. Trying to take out this last inhibitor turret. Amazing, taking some damage. TP coming in from behind.
Power of Evil going to come across there as well. He only locks up Svenskeren, but he goes forward. He gets blown off the face of the rift there. Bjergsen flexing his muscles, and Soaz now just trying to push in towards Hanser, but TSM want to come forward. Soaz is caught. He's going to get knocked up. Hanser, oh, it'll be Bjergsen actually to pick that one up, but TSM now moving forward. 2 down for OG. This could be it.
Yeah, I mean, Doublelift just flashed ahead to try to get the kill on the Sven, force him back to Fountain anyway. Second Nexus turret goes down, and it's going to be an easy win right at the end for TSM. GG, game 1 goes to NA.
Yeah, and that particular game, especially Bjergsen at the end, he stopped Power of Evil before he could Zhonya's, before he could even ultimate right there, and that was actually the crucial place that they could close. They were waiting very patiently for that TP play to be made, and they reacted to it well.
Do you feel like Origin was in a position where they just needed to try something?
Well, they had to.
Yeah.
I think the big problem for Origin is that they had an early game advantage. There were a lot of mistakes made. They had a pressure edge. They could have taken down either of the tier 2s in the side lanes, but they had these split calls very, very obviously with multiple people trying to go into team fights, some people going out of team fights. They were not operating as a 5-man unit, and they were picked off by LeBlanc. LeBlanc gets super fed. Nothing stopping that.
And it should almost be inexorable to expect Bjergsen to be able to pull something like that out. You look at the scoreboard, you see what he's able to do to SOAS, or the most tankiest champions on your team, and you better believe that you don't want to get too close to him. A little bit too far for OG there, not going to work out.
All right, well, TSM getting the lead early on in this best of 3. We're going to jump to a quick commercial, guys, but when we come back, TSM versus Origin, game number 2 at the Intel Extreme Masters World Championships. Don't miss it.